Okay, this is another episode of Reflections, and I'm here with sOAZ, top laner for Origen. Right, obviously, we've done interviews in the past. We did like a grilled way back in the day in FNATIC, I think it was in 2013, and we did a Reflections at some point. I would assume, I think it was early 2014 maybe. So we've covered a lot of the old stuff, right? You don't have to go back to like MLGs and shit from 2012. We can stay in the LCS era in the modern day. So what I want to actually ask you about is kind of pick up the thread of 2014, because what was really strange about this era was that if you asked like experts during these splits, the spring and the summer split, they probably wouldn't say anymore like, oh, sOAZ is the best top laner or Expecka is the best mid laner. You know, there was discussions to be had around who the best players were, and people didn't just say FNATIC had all the best players, you know. But you still managed to win the spring split. You still managed to finish top 2 in the summer split. You still obviously went to Worlds. You're still a pretty good team. Like, what do you think of that era, like the end of your time in FNATIC, basically? Because, I mean, it seems like from the outside, people think that you guys were kind of like, some of you were maybe sick of League, or you wondered if you were just going to retire at the end. So what was this era like for you?
I think during the splits, spring and summer, it was fine overall. I mean, we lost in the summer finals, but I think at the time they are like at the summer finals we are actually the second best team. I actually think they are better than us overall, and Tabs was playing really good at this time, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But I was not really sick of League. Actually, just until Worlds, it's just it was just due to the practice. It was not even like necessarily playing Worlds. Like playing Worlds didn't really affect me, even though our performance wasn't that great. It was much more due to the practice, and the practice led us to playing poorly and also demotivated absolutely everyone from either playing or wanting to change like teams or anything like this.
Okay, so this is one of the interesting things, right? Since it's so many years ago, right, you're not even in FNATIC anymore. I assume it's not a problem if I say this publicly, but I actually was told by someone that before Worlds had even finished, so while you guys were still like, you know, in the group stage playing, I'd already heard from a bunch of people like, oh, it's looking pretty likely that after Worlds, you know, Rekkles will just go to, oh, at the time they were called Alliance, you know, there weren't Elements yet. He will probably go to that team, and then, you know, maybe like, for example, maybe sOAZ retires, maybe YellOwStaR retires, you know, no one knows what happens, maybe Expecka makes this new team. These like rumors were already out there before the team even finished Worlds. So, like, tying into what you're saying here, people must have already been kind of like thinking about what the future would be. And normally, in most teams, you at least wait till the tournaments are all done. You're like, right, we'll see if we win or lose. But what you're saying here about like people weren't very motivated, etc. Did you already get the sense that things were just going to go apart? Like, what were you personally thinking?
Well, the main issue for us was that we didn't have that great of like a support staff helping us during like practice and stuff like this. We got Arane at the time a bit after the bootcamp started, but there are already issues, and that's what we brought him there, and we just couldn't fix those issues. It was much more about like we didn't know how to improve basically, and everyone had a different mindset and stuff like this. But talking about Rekkles and him wanting to change teams and stuff, I think it probably came from because at this time Rekkles was spending like a lot of time with he basically at this time he didn't spend that much time with others besides Froggen. I think that he felt really close to Froggen because he thought that he was a really good player, obviously, and also Froggen is the kind of same player as Rekkles, as in like he still really likes the game. He plays a lot, right? And he was really motivated. So it's the same mindset as Rekkles had before.
Okay.
So he pretty much wanted to team up with Froggen, I think, at the time.
Okay, so I heard a similar story, right? And that logically, even from the outside, makes sense, right? Like the story I heard was, so remember, this is the first year Rekkles was in FNATIC properly in LCS, because obviously he had that whole thing in 2013 where he was too young still. So in 2014, he comes in, and from all the stories I've heard about Rekkles, he was a really dedicated player. You know, he was really trying all the time, playing all this solo queue. And if the team wasn't winning, he was thinking like, right, I have to play more and more and more. And then the vibe, or what I'd essentially heard, was like, some of the other players, I mean, presumably you're one of them. You expect, hey, players who've played for many years, you know, I mean, you're already like 4 or 5 years into your careers at this point in time. You're more like players where you weren't killing yourselves to practice. You know, you play some scrims, you play some practice, but maybe you don't practice a certain champion a million times in solo queue. So for Rekkles, when you lost to Alliance and then you went to Worlds, it didn't go so well. For him, it was more like, right, I have to try and find someone who's got my mentality. And you're kind of describing it here. At the time, at least,
Yeah.
Froggen was quite famous for being like also a practice monster, right?
Yeah, it was mainly because of this. Yeah, he just found similarities with the way he thought about how the game should be played and how it should be practiced and stuff like this. And he thought that Froggen was like the perfect fit for him, I guess. So he really wanted to play with him. And since in the same time we lost to them in the finals, he thought that they are the better team, obviously, which they were. But during Worlds and during practice, I think that at the time they also had a lot of issues. So maybe Rekkles spending time with them just made things a bit, I don't know the exact word, like I would say like complicated for like both teams maybe. Maybe they didn't really talk about it or anything like this, but they just thought like, yeah, it would be cool if I could play with you, you know, something like this, you know.
It's like in the back of their minds, like all of them, you know, like Alliance and Rekkles maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. Like they are, like basically we are during Worlds we were playing in the same office.
There's two teams,
And,
you mean Alliance and FNATIC?
Yeah. I mean, everyone was in the same office. Like every single team was at the Riot office.
Yeah.
And we were on the same floor as Alliance, and their room was just next to us. So sometimes like they would go to McDonald's together or something like this, and yeah, just spend time together.
Okay, so is there anything to that? Like, what was like back in this day? Okay, I remember there was a summoning insight I did after this. Maybe it was like Worlds for season 5, where I made that joke to you that like when you were in. People think of you like I think the joke I made was like this, okay, that every time I used to see on like Friday at like 10 p.m. Central European time or whatever, it would always be like sOAZ's Twitter would be like, yeah, check out this new house banger, and I'd be like, oh, what, sOAZ is going out to party, right? It would always be like that, whereas all the other players were like, yeah, look, I've reached rank 4 in solo queue, and I was like, what, is it really like that, sOAZ? Was it just party atmosphere? And you told me, not in Origin, but that was more like what FNATIC was like. So is this the era when people were, the veterans were a little bit more laid back, and it was like you play a bit, you practice a bit, but it's more like having fun and chilling out?
No, I think this was the era of like LCS being at the ESL office.
Yeah.
Like not only us, not only FNATIC, basically most of the teams that didn't have like socially awkward people or something like this, you know, all the other people that were like fun people, if I can say that, like not saying that the socially awkward are not fun, you know,
yeah.
But yeah, most of the teams and like such as Alternate, you know, all these kind of players would go like Creighton, RNI, and everyone will just go party because people were not practicing that much at the time. So when LCS when Riot did their own studio and stuff like this, it started getting a bit more serious. So everyone practiced a bit more and didn't go out too often anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, it was not only us, it was most of the teams that would go out during the weekend and stuff.
Fair enough. Okay, so during this era, right, before Origin we're talking about, I've heard, I mean, I've seen it myself in the games in terms of which champions you picked or how it went in some of the games, but I heard from someone inside FNATIC at the time that sOAZ just has like a mindset where he just decides if a champion is good or not. And if he decides it's bad, it doesn't matter if that champion's OP, if it's being used by everyone. Like, he just won't practice it and he won't play it. And so the example they gave me was there was one point in time where like Shen was being used all the time in top lane, and you were really good. You were actually like one of the better Shens. You played it a couple of times, it was good. And then you decided in your mind, like, nope, I don't want to play Shen. I'm not playing it anymore. I just play whatever I want. And they made it sound like this is the cycle you went through in FNATIC. Like, sometimes you just wouldn't practice, so you just wouldn't play the certain OP pick, and it's like you had to decide for yourself. Is this fair?
Yeah, there's always a few champs, like, but I think it's the same for every position or every players, that like they have a certain mentality about like champions and playstyle. For example, I remember at time season 4, I think it was, towards Worlds, everyone was playing like a lot of Rise and stuff like this, and actually people thought that I was not playing Rise, which I obviously wasn't at Worlds, but actually tried him. It's not like I just didn't practice him at all, right? I actually just tried a champion a few times, and I just couldn't play him, you know. The champion seemed really easy at the time and stuff like this, but I just it didn't fit for me, so I just didn't play him, which obviously was bad, but it just happens sometimes, I guess. Okay. But no, it tend to happen less and less. I think players overall don't like decide to not play a champion or anything. But yeah, at the time it happened.
Like, to give an example, okay, something that's come up recently, I think it's not like everyone's noticed it, but I've seen some interviews commenting on it, is that basically in Korea, the coach pretty much tells you what you're going to play. Like, you know, he not only tells you what to pick and pick ban, but some of the players, he tells you, like, you're going to practice these 3 things, and, you know, I'm going to use it in all my compositions, basically. Like, in the West, it seems like that still doesn't happen that much. Like, I've heard some of the Western teams, even that had Korean players, the Korean player got a lot more say, and he could basically sort of veto a champion, like, yeah, I'm not going to play that, and they say, oh, okay, and I'll just take that out of my equation, you know, I won't think of that as something we can play. In general, has sOAZ ever gone towards the Korean approach? Like, does the coach get to tell sOAZ what he plays in teams, or does sOAZ still have the total pick over what he wants to play?
At the time or no?
Any time in history, has it changed? Have you become more like that, or are you still the guy who gets to decide what you play?
No, I think for the last maybe year and a half, yeah, I think since the time in Origen, I've been much more flexible, honestly, towards like teammates or coach suggesting picks. Before I would be like, if someone will tell me something, but it's not only me, it was pretty much everyone. If someone will tell me a pick and I thought it will be bad because of X, I will just tell him, no, it's bad because of this, and I will not even pay attention to what he said anymore, right?
Okay.
But this was the case for like pretty much everyone, honestly. Like, everyone in the team had like really close mindset and everything, and right now it changed a lot, at least for me.
Yeah.
If teammates are suggesting picks or coaches or something or stuff like this, I will not only think about it, I will at least like give it a try. But not most people would like play one game or something, but if at the time they will just tell you, yeah, you should play this, right? But now it's pretty much more like, you should play this because it's good against this, and they will give you like masteries, runes, and just like give you certain information on how to play the champion, right? Because if someone tell you you should practice this champion and you're really bad at it, then your first game is gonna be obviously really shit, right? So you're gonna think that the champion is bad, but you're just playing it wrong. So yeah, you just need to know at least the basics. No, it's easier right now, obviously, but at the time it was a bit different.
Okay. If you remember, okay, this will sound like it's an old story, but I know as soon as I mention the details, you will instantly remember it. Okay, you remember the tournament 2014 All-Stars. It wasn't one where you actually were an All-Star player. It was the one where, it was FNATIC and OMG and SKT.
Are you gonna talk about the silent story, or?
We're going to see what you're going to say. So, at this tournament was the one where famously you guys were the original G2. You basically said, like, yeah, we didn't really scrim much, because, we had a really busy schedule. Like, you played season 3 LCS, and then you won all those, and then you went to Worlds, and then you went to Battle in the Atlantic, and you won at IEM Cologne, and then you won a spring season. So yeah, it's true, you didn't get a whole lot of time off, right? So coming into this All Stars, you guys kind of like admitted, like, yeah, we didn't practice that much, and obviously since you got like wrecked by SK Telecom, and they wrecked you with the skins, and then you obviously lost to Cloud9, who had a stand-in. Because of all this, if you remember, it was when I think Monte Cristo or something made some sort of tweet about you, and it's like insane, like you guys need to get your shit together or something, and then you made this famous like sort of rage tweet where you were just like, I am a 3-time LCS champion, like some sort of. You remember when you made this sort of tweet? What was the storyline behind that tournament? Like, were you really annoyed that people wanted you to practice? Because it was the original G2 story. So give me, what was your version of it? What do you think was the problem?
Well, I can't really remember too much, but I think it was pretty much the same story as G2, as in we didn't have too much time off, so we just decided to take not even that long. I think we just took like, so I don't remember how much time we had to practice. I think we practiced for like a week. Okay. So we probably took like a week and a half off, something like this. I'm not really sure how long do it took, but yeah, I guess it was probably the same as G2. But I actually don't. I mean, it's funny what you're saying, but I don't remember the tweet at all.
Okay. I mean, I think you were just pissed off at the idea people would question like your dedication or whether like you're like a good player or something.
I actually remember one tweet. There's like a big argument with like a fan was fan, but
okay, yeah.
There's like a guy talking to me on Twitter. I just replied to him. I don't remember what I replied to him. It was, everyone was like, yeah, just laughing about it, but yeah.
Okay.
Got a lot of shit from it, but yeah, it was. I remember from this tweet, but I don't remember the one with Monte Cristo.
But this has been a theme in your career, which is that, okay, it's funny because most of the people who are like followed League a long time, they always are actually kind of like impressed in a sense, okay, that you keep getting back to the top, or if you have a bad slump, you come out of it and you do well again. And obviously, I mean, everyone has to be impressed if you're making all these LCS finals and going super deep, But even so, for someone who's accomplished all of that and has a really good resume, you've gotten a lot of criticism from fans over the years, especially these last few years. And so, okay, this was an obvious example of this All-Stars one because you kind of like were a target for saying you didn't practice much. But if you remember, you were the guy where at Worlds, that famous game against OMG where you didn't hit the Nexus, people were just making out like you were an idiot, I mean, that exact example there, was it so obvious that you should have hit the Nexus? Was it a mistake, a misclick? What was the logic behind why you didn't win that game? Was it as bad as people made out?
So, I mean, I have a really different opinion that, like, all the casters or fans or anything like this, I think it's probably the same for, like, every single member of FNATIC at the time. Like, obviously, I made a mistake with either Ultimate or hitting Nexus or whatever you want to say. But if you actually rewatch this game, we had, like, 2 inhibitors at the time, and we were pushing bottom and one time middle, and both of the times we didn't wait for minions to push in before attacking turrets and stuff. So we lost like 2 or 3 team fights when we had like 3 game. So we made like so many mistakes prior to this that we could have won the game like 20 minutes earlier rather than me trying to backdoor or anything like this. So the ending was like terrible, right?
It looks bad, right?
Yeah, it looked really bad, right? But there's like a lot of mistakes prior to this and everything. So obviously, like even myself at the time, I was only thinking about like the ending, right? But there's so much more to it. So I felt super bad. Like I remember, like, it was one of the worst moments because of this happening. But there's a lot more to it, yeah.
What do you usually think when people have criticism? Okay, because here's the thing: there's certain times when people are very complimentary. I mean, I remember when Origen made that first LCS final, and you were playing Gangplank, and you took that super sick series against FNATIC. People gave you a lot of praise here, you know. But in general, especially at Worlds, I've noticed people often kind of tried to like say sOAZ is like, oh, he just tilts or he shit internationally or whatever. And it doesn't seem like it gets to you really badly, but there's sometimes you kind of like get pissed off about it, right?
Well, it depends about. So I think, for example, season 3, people were saying I played good overall. Season 4, it was obviously bad, but I don't think I was the only one. Like, maybe I was targeted, but I think everyone was playing bad, honestly. Within the team, I think only Peke at this time. Season 4. I think we were all playing bad, but actually, for some reason, Peke was actually playing good himself.
Okay.
And I think season 5 was like completely different in my opinion. I think we are the only team in the entire tournament, even during groups, that was basically not playing for top. Because if you remember, it was like the meta of Fiora and everything, right?
Sure.
And we are basically the only team that, for some reason, could not play for top. Like, and I think this was both my mistake and team mistake for like either not calling for it at the right time or stuff like this, or just not being able to do that. So we still got far in the tournament by not playing the same meta as everyone, but yeah. I think, yeah, season 5, I don't think I got too much shit. People were saying that I got shit on by Marion or something like this, but I actually think that Faker just 1v9 this series.
Okay. It's a pretty good excuse.
No, but I just remember, I mean, we lost pretty much. First game was like super close. We just lost because we went to late game, and I was playing Kenang as Fiora, and at this time, if Fiora went to late game, then she will just split push everyone to death. So we just lost to that, and it was really close. Second game and third game, it was just Faker going off and us having poor draft.
Okay, so there's one season left, sOAZ. What was criticism like in season 6? I mean, even before you went on that playoff run in spring, everyone was going like, yeah, Origen are they're doing it again. They think they can just play the last week and scrim at the end and get good. And sOAZ is fucking tilting. That's the thing that gets you the most, right, sOAZ? I admit it. That's the one. It doesn't matter if they critique the pick or how you play, but it's if they say you're like a tilter, right? That annoys you, right? It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it actually does. But you know what's the funniest thing? People actually think that I tilt literally because after I do a mistake, I just do this, you know, like I just like hide my face or something with my hand or something, and people literally think that I tilt in the game because I do something like this offline. It's just like a reaction, right? But it doesn't mean that I just stop talking because I did a mistake or anything like this, you know. So I mean, we just have really different opinion of what tilting is, I guess.
Okay. Have you ever tilted? Do you ever tilt in playoffs or worlds or anything like that? Do you think it's ever happened?
I think season 4, yeah, obviously.
Fair enough. Okay, so let me just go back a second because I have another question about season 4 to kind of like start to wrap that part up. So my question is this. That was obviously the year when, for almost the entire year, like everyone it was a top laner had to play fucking Dr. Mundo, Shyvana, all, you know, it's my least favorite era, and I feel like your least favorite era as well. So my question is this, okay, you're already someone where when I talked to you before even that meta came in, you used to tell me like, you know, I mainly play League for a job or for competition. You know, I don't play it because I think the game's amazing anymore. I'm not like super into the game. So if that was the case, was season 4 kind of like sapping your motivation to play?
I at the time, I thought that season 4 was really bad, but now looking back, it was actually not that bad.
In what way wasn't it that bad? Come on.
No, I mean, it was not that bad because there was like a lot of fighting, right? Both you're playing Shivalamundo or Shivalamundo Renekton and stuff like
Yeah.
this. But you're actually back then you're playing with Ignite, so there's no TP. So there's like a lot of solo kills on top and stuff like this. It was more annoying because it was like long fights and it was super repetitive matchups.
Yeah.
As you said, like the most of the time it would be like Shyvana Renekton matchups, right?
Yeah.
Which was pretty boring because it was boring in the sense that anyone in the top 8 of LCS team or whatever could actually play those champions because it was the only matchup, right? So everyone was playing this matchup and anyone could be decent at it. So even if you're like the better player, you could like you'll win your lane but not like extremely hard, right? If you had the Shyvana against the Renekton, you'll win it, but later on, so early, even if you're the really better player, you couldn't do so much. But yeah, it was just bad in this sense, but it wasn't that bad looking back.
But at the time, wasn't it kind of like annoying you? Wasn't it sapping your motivation a bit? I mean, the team at the time, admittedly, I know a lot of top laners felt this way. Like, is this ever going to end? Are we just going to play like 3 champions each for the rest of history, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you could play more champions at the time, but it's just I don't know. People were super like close-minded, and yeah, it pretty much at the time it was more like if you lose to one champion, and this champion like gets really fed, this champion must be OP, you know. So either you play him, either you ban him, but yeah, you just yeah.
Got to be one of the two.
Yeah.
Okay. So in season 5, you went off and you made the Origin team, and obviously, I mean, the first split you had to play Challenger, but then you get into LCS finally for the summer split, and everyone knows you were one of the best teams, obviously, and you went to the final. You had this really great series against FNATIC. What was this time like for you? Like, I mean, you've played many, many years at this point in time, but now finally, you can play carry top laners again. Obviously, you were one of the earliest people to get Gangplank, right? When people were playing this, what was the Origin time like when you first got into this team and you started to have some success?
I don't think people were thinking I was playing that good before because back then I think people were thinking that I was in like the top 3, top 4, I guess, but a lot of people were arguing about. Obviously, I think that Uni was the best.
Okay.
At this time. I think during the finals I was like as good as him, but during the split he was like by far the best in my opinion, and then arguably you could talk about Cabochard, Odoamne, and I.
Yeah.
Both Cabochard having the same playstyle as Uni, so it's much more easy to compare Cabochard to Uni and like Odoamne to myself. So yeah, but I actually lost track of what I wanted to say.
Did season 5 and all the different new champions that you can play to? You can play Gangplank. You could obviously, I mean, you could still play weird stuff like even like later on. Obviously, Fiora came in, etc. You could still play Maokai. You could still play some sort of tanky champs, but you could go with the carry champs. Did this like reignite enjoyment of playing competitively? Was it more fun to play in this season?
It never. I mean, I didn't really think about it too much, but I think you get more excited of playing when you find success more than like enjoying playing champions.
Okay. So it's just about how the team does?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you will not, like, even if you really like playing this champion, but you don't have so much success, you're just gonna lose motivation and stuff anyway, so it's pretty much all about like success, either for yourself, either for like winning as a team.
When you guys went and made Origin, and you obviously had to start in theory at nothing because you had to start in Challenger, you have to win, you have to get out of Challenger to even get into LCS, and then you have a chance to play like you did it the rest of your career. When this happened, okay, I could understand the logic of why in the summer season you guys were still like motivated and you want to get good again because you've only just got back in also you've worked all this time to get back to the top, okay. But in season 6, in that spring season, when you guys were doing kind of like, you were kind of shit actually. You were like 6th best team or something in LCS in the group stage, and you like the regular season wasn't very good and you were losing a lot of games in like unimpressive fashion. At the time, when everyone said that old like tired line of like, oh, don't worry, what happens is sOAZ and his teams just wait until like, like a week before playoffs, and then they're like, right, time to start practicing, time to actually play the real game, and then they always do well in the playoffs. I actually did kind of feel like you can't just say that every year, guys. Like eventually, sooner or later, they're just going to be shit in the season, and they're just going to be shit in the playoffs as well. It's going to be over, right? But how did it happen? You did it again. What the fuck happened in spring season? Explain that to me. How did you get to the final then?
I don't even remember too much of like the games, and I remember about the season overall. We will go 1-1 every time for some reason. We'll lose a lot of time to teams that we shouldn't have lost to, and there's like, I don't remember if we are throwing the game or if we are just like losing the games.
And did people actually care? Like if you went 1-1, were people kind of thinking what I was saying here? Like, we'll figure it out. It's not a big deal.
No, at this time everyone was really much frustrated about team result both because of expectations about us and both because of our expectation, because we actually both we actually knew that we could do so much better, but we just didn't do it, or we just couldn't, and this resulted in us like having internal issues and just not mashing so well together anymore. But it just, for some reason, it just came back slowly towards playoffs. Yeah.
Does this mean though, have sOAZ Xpeke, whether consciously or unconsciously, have you mastered some sort of blueprint for like, like not killing yourself too much in the regular season, but like playing just enough to be good, and then you figure out when to sort of peak and when to practice and when to get good? Like there's got to be something to this crazy pattern, right? Because it's been a while since the team was like practice 24/7, doing really well in all the group stages, and yet you made all these playoff runs. What do you think it is? What is your logic behind it?
I mean, I can talk about myself. I don't really much about or others see it and stuff like this. I don't think it's only about me at all. Like it cannot be possibly only about me, right? So
right.
But talking about my lane and me, it's much. I'm very much confident if I know my opponent and what he's thinking and what he's gonna play, then I can play a lot better, in my opinion, rather than in the split or when the split starts. Everyone have different play and they play a lot of different stuff, so it's harder for me to adapt to those, rather than if you play towards playoff. I'm sure you watch games or you watch Worlds, and everyone play pretty much the same thing. There's a lot of Jays, there's a lot of Poppy and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So you know the matchup, and during LCS you also scrim a lot against top teams and stuff like this. So after scrimming like 10, 20 times against the same player and playing overall the same matchup, there's no like cheese picks too much or anything like this, then I think that in these conditions I actually play a lot better than in the season, and that can be possibly a factor of why I play better, or why do people think I play better during towards the end of the season, because the meta or the way people play just change, you know.
Okay. So, for example, in the playoffs, I mean, every series nowadays is best of 5. It's different for you to play here than to play just the games in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
What is different about a best of 5 in this sense for you?
A best of 5 and
Just compared to, like, you know, it used to be best of 1s in the regular season, and now it's best of 2s. What's different between the two, from your perspective?
I mean, for me, best of 1 is you just have less time to adapt, so it's gonna depends about like the first minutes of the game. I'm not sure. The patch changed right now, so it's 1v1 and stuff like this. I don't think it changed too much in best of 1 before when there's lane swaps, because even in best of 1 in lane swaps, if you are the better team, you will win most likely, because it was much more about like decision making rather than anything else. But yeah, in best of 2 and best of 5, it's you just have much more time to adapt to the other team and like drafting picks and stuff like this. So I guess it's easier for experienced players.
Okay. As much as I complained there about season 4, and obviously, like, since I like carry top lanes, I thought it was shit, you know, and it annoyed me so much. In a way, I understand almost what you mean why it wasn't as bad. Because, for example, if you think it's bad that, you know, top laners can't just carry the whole game, well, then we got to season 5, and every game is a lane swap, and you aren't even playing against another top laner. What did you think of this era? Could you handle playing against like the bot lane every time? What did you think of it?
Not that you're talking about it, you know, like this lane swap thing like seems so far away.
Wasn't that long ago?
Yeah, it's not about that long ago, you know, but just even if it's like 2 or 3 months of like playing something different, you don't remember it so well. But I think it depends about it depends on the time, and like sometimes when it's a lane swap and you feel like you're playing against a weaker opponent, you'll eventually get frustrated if you lose the game. Let's say you lose the game based on like obviously decision making. So okay, you are the worst team, but you felt like in this game, knowing your opponents and stuff like this, if it would be a 1v1 2v2, you will most likely win. Then you just felt really frustrated, and then you'll be like, yeah, if this game was 1v1 2v2, we would have win, you know. But it was frustrated sometimes, but comparing to the Redacton Shyvana, I think lane swap was worse, yeah.
Okay. When you mentioned back at season 4 Worlds, that was where like you didn't have a coach, but you had Aranea was like around the team, you know. I mean, as far as I know, wasn't he more just like a friend who sort of like helped out a bit? Like he did a bit of research, or he told you like, oh, these are the picks that they're doing in Korea or something. He wasn't really like a coach, was he?
No, I don't. He was not. At this time, he was not acting much as a coach. He was helping us, but I think when he came in, we already had too many issues. If it's hard to remember exactly when he came in and you know what happened in the team before, like prior to this and everything like this. But yeah, I think the main issue is that when he came in, it was kind of already too late, you know.
Okay.
But he tried as much to help us. Like Arne is someone that when he does something, he puts all his effort into it.
Sure.
So it can be like either, even if he was not coaching, he was like trying to get information and stuff like this, and just helping us as much as he could, or for he could do. Like mostly he will try to motivate. Like he knew that, and he was watching our scrims and stuff like this, so he knew that we had a lot of issues, internal issues between one another and stuff like this. But I remember during Worlds he was like trying to hype us and just motivate us as much as possible.
Okay. Because obviously, when you come into Season 5 with Origin, the first official coach enters sOAZ's life. And this was the guy, it was Ducky, it was the guy who'd been the Rockat coach, and he was like, officially, I'm putting that in, I'm like, you can't see me, but I'm doing like in the commas, you know. Okay.
First he was the analyst though.
He came in as the analyst first, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And he became the coach though, officially. Like that's the title given him. Now, you implied
Sometime, yeah.
Didn't you imply that like the reason he became the coach is because wasn't this the same time when Riot said like you have to have a coach and we will give you money for the coach or something? Wasn't it something like that?
No, I think Riot did that before.
Okay. So was he a real coach in Origin?
I think Ducky was much more of an analyst. Like he was really good as an analyst though. He will find us pics of enemies and just runes, masteries, everything like this. If we had any info or wanting to know what this Korean player is playing, or like what's the meta shifting towards to and stuff like this. He had like so many infos, and that was helping us a lot because at the time we were actually good. So this was helping us a lot, and then we struggled a bit, and he went into coach, but he was pretty much an analyst trying to coach, and it's not that he had wrong ideas or anything like this. He just, when you know someone, and then his personality just change, then you just don't like it so much, right?
Okay.
Not talking about me or anything,
Right.
because I'm just saying that because people will assume that it's me, obviously,
Right.
but but
So what was
yeah,
the problem?
it's just that people talking about everyone didn't really like. Everyone preferred Ducky as an analyst rather than coach, and Ducky wanted to be a coach. So he just.
Okay, let me put it this way. There's a lot of people who are coaches who actually do a lot of the things that an analyst does. They look at picks, they give people info, but most people would probably say the difference between an analyst and a coach, like in a very simple sense, is the coach gets to decide things. Like maybe he gets to say, we're going to do this now, or I want you to stop doing that, like I want you to do this instead. This is what wasn't working for Origin?
At the time, I don't think coaches had like the power to do this kind of things.
I mean, they did it in your teams, right?
I don't think in any team. Like you can ask any other team. I'm not sure. I don't even think Daylor was doing these kind of things. Like.
So even he let the players decide some of this stuff?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I didn't ask Rekkles or anyone, but I'm pretty sure that he wasn't deciding everything. He was helping us as much as possible outside the game and stuff like this. But within the game, I don't think he had that much say, honestly.
Okay. So when Ducky left, before you guys even went to Worlds, that's a pretty crazy story, because think about how it looks to us from the outside. We see, like, if we go on the at the time it was like eSport Pedia or whatever. We go to the page and it says Origen, coach, Ducky. And then he just says like, yeah, even though we finished top 2, I'm off. Like, I'm just not going to be the coach anymore. And you know what? This team doesn't even need a coach. They just don't have coaches. And at the time, from the outside, we think to ourselves, like you're saying, yeah, I mean, we think, oh, Daylor's like the mastermind behind FNATIC. And obviously every Korean team, every Chinese team has a coach. So this team that has these players who have a certain reputation for not needing to be coached or not wanting to be coached isn't even going to take a coach to Worlds. And yet, this is fine somehow. And I think this is when you came out and you made some comments that were like, coaches don't even do that much. Like, you know, like you made all these comments that made people either mad or just think, oh, maybe they don't do anything. Like, what was really your thinking here? That Origen at that time didn't need a coach?
It totally depends of like where you're at as a team and like what kind of players you have, I guess. I think at the time when we are winning, we didn't necessarily need one, yeah, because as long as you're winning and you just know a lot more about how to play the game, right? But most of the time that we had coaches or stuff like this, it was pretty much like us trying to teach him the game, and then it just felt so wrong, you know. I guess we just didn't have like the right people, but yeah.
Okay, because at Worlds that year, officially you did the same thing again, right? You took the guy who was your analyst, Hermit, and you made him officially your coach.
I wanted to say something.
Oh, okay, come on. Yeah.
When before the kill left, and it was like maybe a month prior to when he left.
Yeah.
He was the coach, right? And he wanted to bring an analyst to the gaming house that he was working with, right? And which was Hermit at the time. So we had Ducky as coach and Hermit as analyst living in the house.
Okay.
And so we were working with both of them for like about a month or maybe more. I don't remember correctly. But yeah, before Ducky decided to leave, he actually just gave the role to Hermit, basically. You know, he was just trying to make Hermit learn a bit, you know, and stuff like this. So he just didn't leave, and nothing happened. It was planned a bit.
Right, but when you went to Worlds and Hermit was listed again as the official, he's the coach. You kind of implied after the fact, like when he'd already left Origen and it was coming into season 6, you kind of implied that he also wasn't really like the coach, and that you had, in fact, I think you even said like, I've never had a proper coach or something like this. Like, so what did he actually do for Worlds with Origen?
So I'm gonna say the thing that I dislike the most about like coaches and the way people think that coaches act and stuff like this, they will just look at the best team. Either at the time it was FNATIC, for example, with Daylor, or us when we went far at Worlds and stuff like this, and they will just point out, yeah, this team is doing so good, so their coaches must be good, you know.
Yep.
It cannot go wrong, you know. Like, they're playing good, so their coaches must be good. He's doing good picks and bans for them and stuff like this. But in fact, like, Hermit was doing nothing of this, you know. He was pretty much just getting infos from analysts and just giving it to us, and that was the only thing that he did, you know. Like, so
he didn't do pick ban. He didn't tell you pick this or this is going to be next.
No, he didn't do anything. He was not bad as an analyst again, but in terms of coach, it's not like he really helped anyone individually. I think maybe some of my teammates can talk about this and stuff like this, but during Worlds or during the season, he pretty much didn't do anything, no?
Okay. So in season 6, who was the guy who you gave? Who was the official coach for Origin in season 6? Who was that guy? I forget his name now. It's not good that you don't remember it either. Like, right. Well, that says that then. So, does that line still hold true then, sOAZ? Has sOAZ still never had like a full-on real coach that decided these things and stuff? It's never happened.
No, so I think the prophecy is gonna be that I'm gonna learn from like all the bad coaches that I had, and I'm gonna become the greatest coach of all time, like in a few years.
Okay. You're gonna figure out what a coach needs, and then you're gonna become it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually, no joke. I actually think I could be pretty good at coaching.
Okay. So, do you understand why there is a reputation that sOAZ is uncoachable?
I'd say 2 years ago from now, I could agree with this as not uncoachable, because this is probably a bit too much, right? But I was hard to deal with in the sense that, yeah, I had my own mindset, and it's not I will tell people, fuck off and stuff like this, right?
Okay.
I'm very polite with the people I'm working with and teammates and stuff like this. But yeah, it just, if I thought that someone will tell me about, for example, about what we were talking about before, picks and stuff like this, if he will tell me, yeah, you should play this, I will be like, no, I don't think this is good because of this, and that will be it, right? But I think since I joined Origen, and yeah, from 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, I learned a lot, and I don't think I'm uncoachable anymore.
Okay. But here's the thing: if it had just been you and you'd gone off and joined like TSM or something, and the same pattern happened, that'd be fine, okay. But you and Expeke are the two that have been together so long, and he's even the owner of the team now. And in theory, until Forgiven left, he was out of the team even. He was like taking a step back a little bit. Does this mean like you and Expeke see the same? Do you have the same mentality on coaches and stuff? Like you just don't think there's any in the West that can have this power in your team at least?
I don't really know like the way Peke thinks about coaching and stuff like this. I definitely think that coaches should have like all power and stuff like this, like be able to choose certain things for the team and what's the best for them and stuff like this. But we just, for some reason, either because we choose the way it was or stuff like this, we just didn't have anyone that was qualified enough to do those things for us.
Okay. So you might have seen this, okay? Someone brought up an old interview that actually happened last year at Season 5 Worlds, where Koma, the coach of SK Telecom, who's been known to make some bold comments before, said a comment like, if he came to like a Western team, he could take them to the top as well. He made some comments. Okay, let's imagine there was a world, right, sOAZ, where tomorrow, Koma, obviously after the final, he calls up and he goes, listen, sOAZ, like, people thought my biggest challenge was winning 3 worlds, but actually I've been watching you, I've been listening to your interviews, I've had them translated, and I realized that coaching you would be the biggest challenge of my career. So I want to come to Origin, and I'm going to have a translator with me, and I've been even learning some English, and tomorrow he's going to come to Origin for Season 7, and you're going to play in this team. Would sOAZ actually listen to him? Would he let him be the coach and tell sOAZ what to do in the game?
Yeah, I don't mind as long as the guy that is doing this is qualified for it, and yeah, it's pretty much like this for me.
Okay. So after Season 5 Worlds, you had that spring split that still went pretty good. You got to the final, you played G2, but then there was this scenario where Zven and Mithy left. And they just, one day, it was announced, they're going, see you. And then obviously we found out this stuff behind the scenes. Like actually G2 was apparently trying to get them during that like fake vacation and all that sort of shit was going down between the seasons. Now when they left, you were pretty pissed off, right? You made some comments that were like a little bit aggressive on Twitter, or you implied like maybe they were like betraying you or something. Like what was your feeling when they left?
No,
Or like they didn't tell you properly or something?
Yeah, I mean, there's something. I don't remember what comment I've made. I don't think I made too many comments about this. I think it was Maurice that made a comment about you shouldn't leave the team to like
the rival that was
your rival or
okay.
competitor or something like this. It was something like this, but yeah. What was the main question?
So how did you feel then when they just left like this? I mean, what did it come as a shock out of nowhere? Like one day they just like, we're going, see ya.
So I remember I was in the train from Paris to my city to Bordeaux here, and I look at Skype and I was like, I look at Skype and I see in the there's like a new group chat I was in. I was like, what is this, you know? And I saw Peke at me and it was like, yeah, so Mithy and Zven are leaving, and I was like, what? You know, it was like, it was pretty much a shock. So I didn't really understand it. Like even though we lost to G2, it was not like we played super terrible, you know. It was overall close series, if I can say that. I think we lost 3-1, but the fourth game we should have won it for sure. We just threw so badly, so it could have been at least a 5-game series. So I don't think we played that bad. So I didn't really understand so much of their decision. There's obviously a lot more things that I cannot really talk about.
Okay.
But I didn't really talk to Niels too much, but I kept a bit of contact with Mithy, and I talked to him a few times about like the situation and how he felt about back then of why he left and stuff like this, and I completely like agree with the decision. The only thing that I didn't like was that we were not aware at all, and if we were aware like earlier or something like this, or if they would have tell us that they felt bad being in the team and they wanted to leave, then we could have eventually had a much better season overall, you know, for us Origen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if we look at the big picture of something that's happened in sOAZ's career, right? There's a pattern where there's these two young AD carries. One's called Rekkles, one's called Zven. And both players, everyone's going, oh, these guys are really good. They're super dedicated. You know, they're practicing all the time. Like, they're putting in their full effort. And both of them just leave out of nowhere and go to the team that's beating sOAZ's team. And they join that team and they go, listen, I'm finally with people who, like, practice as much as me and, like, dedicate as much as me. This is what the storyline sounds like, right? Is there anything, is there anything to this, do you think?
It's actually funny, you know, because both of them, when they left, I remember Alliance not doing so well, and then G2 did really well, you know, but didn't play so well at Worlds. So no, I'm just
the sOAZ curse. Okay.
No, I'm just trolling a bit. But yeah, most people thought that in these two cases, you know, it was the same for Rekkles. I don't think Rekkles necessarily was they are not practicing enough and stuff like this. It was more like he wanted to play with this guy, right?
Okay.
And for Mithy and Niels, it was, I think that the play thingy, like the reason why they left was probably like 20% the reason of why they left.
Right. Playing was only 20% of it.
What?
Playing was only 20% of it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like a lot of there's a lot more to it that I obviously don't really want to talk about.
Right, we'll wait a few years. We'll get back to that one in a few years. That'll be Reflections Part 3. Okay, right. Right, here's a question then. So, anyone who thought that the drama in that part of Origin was over, like, no, it looked like it was, and we were all ready to move into summer season SOAZ, and we were just going to get on with our lives. And little did we know, there was some drama that happened that never actually got out to the public. So what happened was this, okay? Origin has to look like last minute for some players that they can bring in to be their players. So what they do is they get Hybrid was obviously kicked out of G2 because they got Zven and Mithy, and then they need an Eddie carry. And at the time, H2K had kind of failed in the playoffs. So they weren't happy with Forgiven. Forgiven had his own issues because he's Forgiven. And so he was available, right? And he comes in at Origin. And the funny thing is, if you remember, everyone on the outside even said, along the lines of the story we were just talking about here with Sven, oh, this isn't going to work well. If SOAZ is this lazy guy who doesn't practice, Forgiven's going to go nuts and he's not going to be able to handle it. And then the funny thing is, though, the story officially was just that, you played the practices, you came into the season, and almost immediately there was just this post, Forgiven's out, and it was implied by Origen, oh yeah, he just lost motivation, and he doesn't want to play anymore. And the thing is, Forgiven, by the way, got really offended by this, because he says, and he's made comments recently, that actually it was never him. He says that what happened was he practiced, and that there was a conflict in the team, and he's, by the way, pretty much said this publicly, that it was between him and Hybrid, and that Hybrid somehow backstabbed him and fucked him over and whatever, and that Origin decided, we're going to go with Hybrid on this one, and so Forgiven, you're out, we're kicking you out the team, but we don't want to do it that publicly, so we're just going to say that you lost motivation. And so, by the way, I don't know if he's got over it, but Forgiven's not too happy about that still. So can you give me, what's your perspective? What happened with Forgiven in Origin?
So... yeah, we got Forgiven and Hybrid. Forgiven came to the gaming house a bit late, so we started practicing. And after a few days, they basically got into an argument and stuff. And they got into an argument. I mean, I'm gonna say the things that are no secret to the public, okay. Right? So I'm not gonna talk about all the details and stuff like this, but. So yeah, they got into an argument, and what I think happened was that Hybrid was really mad about the situation and probably talked badly about Forgiven on Skype group chat or something.
I mean, it was implied that there's a Skype group chat that's the newer players, okay, like Perks and these guys who were obviously he was in G2. Well, these newer players, right?
Yeah, and the thing. So yeah, he said something bad about Forgiven or something on the group chat, and I don't really know how it happened, but Forgiven saw it on Hybrid PC or something like this, and from this point, both of them just couldn't play together anymore.
What's the end of the world already just because of a comment? They can't just be sorry, let's keep playing as professional. That's it. It's the end of the world already off one comment.
It was pretty much it. No, okay. After this, I think we kept playing for a few days, 2 or 3 days, and it just started getting worse and worse. It's like a ticking bomb, right?
Okay.
So I was just watching this happening, and then after 2 to 3 days, then the ticking bomb exploded, and then. From this point, we just had to. We didn't play scrims for 2 days because we just couldn't play scrims. They didn't want to play, right? So Hybrid didn't want to play any more scrims, so we had to make a decision of basically it was like keeping one or another, and everyone pretty much decided like no one really know about this, but I'm gonna be honest and say that everyone decided to go with hybrid because we thought that it would be the best fit, thinking about like attitude wise and everything. We thought that it could be a better fit for all of us, so we
Okay.
decided to go with hybrid, and that was pretty much it, you know.
But I mean, it was also implied to me by Forgiven that that meant you already knew that meant you'd have to use like Xpeke as AD carry basically. Like you did, there wasn't another option, right?
So I mean, this is hard. Um, this is another story, but um, so yeah, when we had to make this decision, I actually asked like, do you guys think about like AD carry options before doing that and stuff like this? And we were like, and they told me that we are gonna try out 2 or 3 guys. So I was like, okay, we can try them out and stuff like this and see what happened, right? So we played a few games with PK first, and then we try out 3 different guys, and they are all not bad, right? But it was nothing like extraordinary, right? And in the same time, we are playing pretty bad ourselves. So when you're playing bad overall, it's not like you can play with a sub or something and see that, yeah, this guy is really good, right?
Okay.
It's more when you're playing good and you're playing with someone else, you can actually notice what he's doing and if he's doing right, because everyone is playing at a good level, right? So yeah, we play with these 3 guys, and they are not that great. They are playing good overall, but nothing extraordinary. So we decided to go with PK because PK was playing a little bit worse, but he was adding more to the team in terms of like talking and calling a bit. Not like he was doing all the calls, but he was helping a bit with it. So we decided to go with PK. I actually asked myself to have one of the guy fly into the house, which was Toaster at the time.
Okay.
Just in case PK wouldn't work as AD carry, right? And then we didn't do that. We played with PK, not saying that we played bad in the season because of PK, right? Like it was obviously not because of him. It was like a mix of everything, but yeah. And then after a month or something, no, after 2 to 3 weeks after this, we fly Toaster in the gaming house, and then we started using both and everything. But I think it would have went a bit better if we would have done that at the beginning. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole story of the AD carry drama.
Okay. And bearing in mind, here's the problem, okay? At that time, I actually thought Hybrid was a pretty good player after the spring split. Like he was looking very good. Looking back now, could it have worked with Forgiven? I mean, isn't it a bit bittersweet that you guys don't go to Worlds and he has this nice run and it all goes super well and now everyone loves him again? Wasn't it a bit bittersweet seeing that?
Not really, because I mean, I think I cannot really judge him because of when he was in the team and when we practiced. It was really different, and it was not in a good environment and mindset that we are practicing. So I can say that, yeah, I would definitely like to play with Forgiven again, or I would not like to, stuff like this. But I mean, I'm actually happy that he found success again in H2K, and I mean, I don't really mind the situation that happened with Forgiven, the only thing that I said before is that I think if, not saying that Froggen would be a bad fit for us, but the only thing is that if we knew in advance that Mithy and Niels wanted to leave, we could have do tryouts and see what would have fit better for us, because we didn't try out Forgiven and Hybrid, you know. We knew that they are both good players,
Yeah.
but we didn't try them out, so we didn't know how they would fit into the team, and we just took them. We started practicing. It went bad, and then the season was pretty much over for this. After this, you know, like no one was really motivated. So yeah.
So you played all these seasons. I mean, when I did that first Grilled interview where you kind of said, like, you know, I'm not really like that much into the game anymore. Like, you know, if there wasn't about money and competition, maybe I would have just retired or quit. That was in like 2013, 3 years ago. So is sOAZ really going to still be playing professional league in like 2 years from now? You think it's going to happen? Are you still all in on the game?
Even I'm gonna talk a bit about the last split. Even though the last split was like really bad for us in terms of performance and standings and everything, I actually really liked playing this split because it helped me a lot in terms of like, I don't know if I can really say that, but a bit leadership and stuff like this. I actually tried really hard because I knew that as soon as Mithy and Niels left, I knew that everyone will start looking at us as that, as like, are they gonna struggle? Are they gonna underperform that now that they left and stuff like this? So I actually try a lot harder last split compared to other split. As in, I will put a lot more effort into watching other regions, stuff like this. So putting this much effort, even though it didn't succeed in the end, I still learned a lot, and I really think since I put all this effort and I thought that I was actually playing good overall, I can probably do it for at least one more year. We will see after this. It's gonna depend obviously about my performance and yeah, pretty much how I play in the next year. But if I play good next year, I'll probably go for one more year and stuff like this. It depends.
So you obviously have played a long time. I mean, all these different worlds, all the LCS, etc. And you were there before the Koreans were really good, and then you saw them get really good, and you've played a number of them. Obviously, you played SK Telecom last year. Right? Every year there's this discussion after Worlds, and it goes like this: "Oh, the gap is closing, and we're getting closer." And you know the story; it's like same every year. So the problem with the story is, I understand to some level, right? You know, like yes, the West is improving, coaches are getting a bit better, the pick ban is better, but like we have just had a Worlds where again top 3 is like Koreans, and then 2 Koreans in the final, and still no one has beaten a Korean team in a best of 5 since like CLG EU in 2012. So some parts of the gap haven't closed, right? Do you think it will close in a year, in 2 years? Is this what do you think has to happen for that to happen? Like, why have none of these really great Western teams, any of them you were in, or even the FNATIC that you weren't in, why can not even TSM this year? Why can none of them really beat the Koreans properly?
I mean, I think the main issue. I think the main issue is that watching all American team, like watching any other teams besides Korean teams playing team fights is like the way that Korean teams play as a team is so different than any other team. They are just so well coordinated and everything like this. So this is probably the main issue. Like, I don't really know the way they do it and everything like this, but I mean, you saw it in the H2K series, you know, like even though they have great early game, they just lost, you know. So I think how to resolve this is pretty much if everyone put the same effort as like I don't really know obviously about TSM and stuff like this, but from what I've heard and stuff like this, they put like actually a lot of effort into this season, and that like great. They are really good performance during the split, right? Even though they didn't go get out of groups during Worlds, but I think if all the teams do a bit the same as they did, then the whole region will improve, and then people and then other region besides Korea might have a chance at Worlds. But first, you need more than just one team being really good, you know.
Do you think it's possible to actually coach team fights? Like, can you take a team fight and break it down and be like, our guideline for the next time something like this happens is, we had to get this guy first, and we focused the wrong person. Do you think you can really do that?
I think you can, yeah. I think it's something that teams doesn't do overall. It's pretty much analyzing your composition and enemy composition, and then talking already at the beginning of the game, like the way you wanna approach fights and where do you wanna team fight, and stuff like this. Like, do this game you wanna play for top? Yes, then so we're gonna skip dragon control and stuff like this. Some teams does that, like about dragon and stuff like this, obviously, but they don't talk so much. Like, it was the same for us, so I'm just talking from my experience, obviously. Yep. Maybe some other teams does it, but they don't talk so much about how do they want to team fight this game, you know. It's just something missing. So maybe like doing this is gonna help a bit, because I don't think, besides like a few players, Korean players are like so much better individually, you know. They are just very, very good at team fighting and playing the map.
You played with or against YellOwStaR almost your whole career. So you were with him back in against All Authority, and obviously he was an AD carry in the early days, and then he was in FNATIC as an AD carry, and then he was a support player, and then obviously you played against him when you were on Origen, and he was on FNATIC. And if YellOwStaR had retired the day after Season 5 Worlds ended, right, every article would be like, he was the greatest Western player of all time. Look at the accomplishments, like amazing accomplishments, all those LCS titles, all the worlds, all the rest of it. He played with all these great players. But because he went to TSM and they had some disappointments, and then now in FNATIC they didn't do very well, the public sentiment coming into this Worlds was pretty bad. Everyone was like, everyone was memeing about him, he is shit. Like, who was that fresh? Oh, it was YellOwStaR, ha ha ha. And the whole, it's like this whole rep just changed in 1 year. What do you think about this on the level of like, did YellOwStaR get worse since he went to TSM? What do you think of this general topic?
I think he got a bit worse, but I think it started a bit before finals against them, that he started playing a bit worse, because I remember I don't really watch like enemy support and stuff like this, or he plays and stuff like this. But from talking with Mithy and stuff like this, I'm saying I'm sorry for saying stuff like this, but
all right.
So yeah, I talked a bit with Mithy, and he was saying that YellOwStaR was playing really good during the season. But after playing, even though we lost, after playing against them at the finals, I remember him saying that he felt that he wasn't playing that great during the series. And yeah, Worlds came in, But talking about YellOwStaR overall, it's not like he have ever been a really good mechanical support, if you can say that. It's not like you require, for example, he was famous for playing Leona or heroes that could roam and make plays.
Yep.
But it's not like you require that much skill to play Leona. You just have to land one skill shot, which is E, and then you just power CC. So, or you use R, right? But yeah, he wasn't ever known to be a super good mechanical player. So what I think happened was that people caught up in terms of like the game and the game overall, and he couldn't just not even outplay. He couldn't just outsmart people anymore. And that's why people started looking at him being worse and worse and worse.
So another thing that happened with YellOwStaR that was really interesting to me is because you guys all left and went to Origin, and he had to start with a brand new team, and he got those rookies in, Febervin, Hooney, Raynova. Raynova wasn't technically a rookie, but you got all these like new players in, and I think actually, yeah, you had Steel back, and so because he started with all these players where maybe some people in this call didn't think they were going to be super duper good, and they ended up being amazing. Another thing that happened was everyone in Season 5 was like, YellOwStaR is the ultimate captain in League of Legends. He must be the guy who knows exactly what to do in the right moments. And that story again died after Worlds, because when he went to TSM, people were like, oh, he wasn't properly shot calling. And then now in FNATIC, obviously, like they haven't really had a very good team this split. From when you played with him, how much of a role did YellOwStaR actually have as like a shot caller or a captain, or what was he like as a teammate in that sense?
I think he changed a lot through the years, but at the time when he was playing in FNATIC and I was there too, he was doing pretty much the same as PK was doing or I was doing. We were just like giving information and doing some calls time to time. He wasn't doing less or more, maybe a bit more than some people, but he wasn't so much as a leader or something like this. He just he started becoming that after we left, I think, because he probably felt, from what I've heard, is just that since he had so much success with FNATIC, he just felt like he just owed FNATIC this, at least. I think that he wanted to try this. He wanted to try really hard and see what happened. So he started like becoming pretty much a role model for the players in the team, and be, how to say, like, try to wake up really early, and do just be a role model for everyone. Yeah.
You've played so long, and again against Koreans so long. If you got the ultimate team, so for whatever this would look like, I don't know who the players would be, whatever. If sOAZ played in a team that fit him perfectly, and sOAZ had the right picks and the right meta, and everything was going great, could sOAZ actually win Worlds and beat Koreans and all these things?
It depends what era. And it depends like which players, obviously. I think it's, I don't think I will be, being honest, I don't think I will ever be like the best player. I think there's always gonna be someone better than me anyways. But yeah, I don't really know what to answer to this, honestly.
Okay. Without mentioning names, obviously, in interviews, okay, say someone was in a team like, for example, this year's TSM where they were super dominant, or last year's FNATIC. And so these are the teams where they're not just like people think they have a chance at Worlds, but they look like the best chance, you know, like if they're going to be so dominant in the West, maybe it'll turn out they'll beat the Koreans and do super well. In interviews, okay, maybe someone might be like, yeah, I think, you know, maybe we could win Worlds, or maybe Korea. When you talk to players in private and players that you know that you're friends with, do you think they're actually, without mentioning names again, are there actually any Western like star players who really believe in their hearts? Like, yeah, oh, if you put me against Koreans, I could fuck them up. Like, oh, fake it. I reckon I could play it. Are there really players who really think this? Do you think?
I hear a lot of stories, and I know that there's a few people that have really big egos, but I think ego from players come from losing, as in when they start losing and they play for themselves. It's not like they don't say lose their lane or anything like this, but they tend to think that, yeah, if I was playing with this guy in my team, then I will be so much better. And yeah, there's a few people that I know that think like that.
Okay. Right. Even though this will sound like the most random question ever, right? Because it has nothing to do with the career of sOAZ. You've never played with this guy. I just want to ask you this question to see in 2016 what sOAZ's opinion is on this topic. So a while ago, I'm talking like maybe 2 years ago, I once had a Twitter argument with sOAZ. I'm trying to think who else was in it. I think Ironea got involved. I think maybe like Shakarez was involved. So we had all these people who follow LCS, and the argument was, you know, it's the classic EU LCS argument. It's who's better, Froggen or Xpeke? And sOAZ just comes wading in, and he tells me, like, he doesn't just say, like, Xpeke is better. He's like, listen, you have to understand, all Froggen does is just sit under hugs his tower, he just kills minions, and, you know, Peke's roaming, he's killing everyone on the map, like, you know, you made Froggen sound like he was like Cowtard or something, right? You made him sound pretty. At the time, he was like the MVP of the LCS, right? Again, Froggen's a player you've played and seen a lot of your career. What is your actual perspective on him in that sense? Like, you just don't like his playing style or something? Is it still the case?
Actually, I think if I was playing mid lane, for example, I would play the complete opposite of Froggen, as in I will play much more for my side lanes rather than my lane. And so yeah, the only, like, yeah, it was probably bad of me saying he hugged his turret or whatever, but
I mean, we know what you meant, but okay.
But yeah, I think that Froggen, I mean, I'm not judging right now, obviously, but from the past, I think he was playing a bit too much for himself, if I can say that. Yeah.
Okay. So he focused too much on his own lane and not the map.
Yeah, I think it used to be like this. I'm not really sure right now, obviously. I have no idea, but I think it used to be a bit like this.
So sOAZ, if he was a mid laner, would be more like spring season perks, where you go to the side lane, you dive, you kill the guy there.
I will be like the Uhi Orion Soul.
The Uhi Aurelian Soul. Jesus Christ. Okay. That's not a good image to have in my mind, okay.
I mean, it's a mix of feelings, you know. It's like Uhi, but it's Aurelian Soul as well, you know.
Okay, right, fair enough. Right, at the end of the interview, do you have a final message for people who watch the interview, or someone you want to thank or anything like
that? Thank you for the interview, obviously, and thanks to everyone that keeps supporting me through the bad and good times, and yeah, thanks to all those people.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.